Video ideas can really come from anywhere, but I do need to shout out two of my learners in my day job, Jack and Andy, who basically brought this video idea up in a conversation about the NRL in a responsible service of alcohol training session, of which I was the trainer. That is my day job. And they were talking about current NRL players that they thought were going to go to the Hall of Fame. And I thought that is a Does Talk Footy video right there. Neither of them like footy or no idea YouTube, but shout out to you two gents for bringing this to the equation. Second last video before we go on break, and we're going to split these players up into 4 groups. We have the locks, very simple. If they retired today, they're in. In fact, if they retired today and they weren't in, I'll lead the riots. We've then got the probables, which, to be honest, if they retired today, they probably would get in, but even with differing amounts of years to go, are probably going to get in. I've got a few possibles there where I can discuss there's a case for both getting in and not getting in, so I'll talk about those, and then we'll throw in some young guys that are on their way, which is going to be a hell of a lot more subjective, but in my opinion, a hell of a lot more fun, because, no offense, but the locks for this conversation are boring, because if you disagree with any of these, what's wrong with you? So, I don't know, let's do this, let's go to the locks. Now, none of the players in these groups are in order of anything, right? So, if you're wondering why the 8th lock is not the 3rd lock, it's just because this is the order the graphics loaded in. So just accept that they're locks and the order doesn't matter, okay? Lockie Neal is a lock. But I had to. Do I need to explain this? This is why I said this is boring. Of course he's going to make it. Would Lockie Neal be a legend? Would be an interesting question, because yeah, he's got the Brownlows, but is there a feeling of, not how many did he deserve, but is he a sexy Brownlow medal winner? I don't know. Should that matter? Should it not? I think he will be a legend for what it's worth, but is it a discussion? I don't know. Nat Fyfe, he's going to make it. Again, I don't need to explain this, guys, okay? He's fine. The 2015 Brownlow shirtless photo should be enough to get you into the Hall of Fame, because if you believe in religion, God made him and me. So I don't know what kind of off day that prick was having, but I have some bones to pick and words to have. Nat Fyfe's making it into the Hall of Fame. And not that I'm mad at you, Nat, but my missus has a crush on you, so don't really know what to do there, that you and I are both in her circle of taste. But let's move on. Paddy Cripps is a lock. Guys, he's won 2 Brownlows. He's carried Carlton on his back. He was there when they were awful. Does he deserve a flag? I don't really know about this deserve a flag thing, because I think you start at Matthew Pavlich and work onwards. Did Pav deserve a flag? Well, Freo did win the right to get to one. They didn't get over the line. So the word deserve, difficult one to answer for mine. But Crip is in. Scott Pendlebury is also making it, and I have an older brother who turns 29 in April. Now, that's got nothing to do with anything, but he gets mad when I bring it up. So, there you go. But he does not like Scott Pendlebury, at all. And I don't really know why. It's the dumbest and worst sports opinion ever. But yeah, there you go. But shout out to you, Trenner. You're a star. That opinion is not. But Pendles is making it. The most disposals all time. Best and fairest. Yeah, he's making it. Why am I debating this? Norm Smith medal, 2 flags. He's making it. Come on. Danger's making it. It's amazing to me the Brownlow medalists that are on this list so far. None of them are great kicks of the footy. It's kind of weird that the amount of, especially recent Brownlow medals, yeah, you can take Dusty out of the picture, but you even look at Matt Prittis, Tom Mitchell, Fyfe, Danger, Neil Cripps, these guys, yes, they are superstars. I'm not saying they are bad players. I'm not saying that in the slightest. But the fact that none of them are considered awesome kicks of the footy is extraordinary to me. Chris Judd won 2 Brownlows. Juddy was never a great kick of the ball either. He's one of the best 3 players I've ever seen. He ain't an elite kick, though. I just find that curious. Jeremy Cameron, for me, is a lock. The guy has still got good footy in him, and I think he's going to retire with 700 goals, a flag, a Coleman. He's still GWS's all-time leading goal scorer. I don't feel this is controversial at all, but Jez is making it. Surely, right? Max Gawn, he's the best ruckman since Dean Cox, and Dean Cox is a lock if he isn't in there already. I don't think he is. He might be. Anyway, yeah, Gawn just makes it. He does. Marcus Bontempelli makes it as well. 29 years old. The resume he's got is outstanding. Now, yes, I have my gripes with the fact that Luke Beveridge gets 100% of the blame always when the Bulldogs lose, yet there are key spots where the Bont, as the captain, doesn't get the criticism other captains do. Does that matter for your Hall of Fame case? No! The Bont is in, as is Luke Breust. Now, part of this is the fact that, yes, you're a 3-time premiership player, but being one of the best of your generation at your position has to count for something. Is Luke Breust the best player in the competition? No. Was Luke Breust ever a top 10, 12 player in the competition? I would say no. Does that mean you shouldn't get into the Hall of Fame? My answer to that is no, because of the small forwards of his generation, maybe even all time for what he's able to do, he's still top 10 in that regard, and I believe that the guys around his generation, Milne, Betts, Rioli, these guys, and more, of course, absolutely, are also going to make it. Luke Breust should as well. I don't think this is that controversial. Of the people that I kind of ran this list by to go, hey, am I missing anyone obvious? About half of them, I went to 4 people. 2 of them went, yeah, Breust belongs there. And 2 of them went, no, he doesn't. But it's my list. Luke Breust is a Hall of Fame lock. This is not Hawthorn bias. It ain't. So those are my locks as we kickstart the list. Now we get into the subjective stuff. Let's go to the probables. The guys that are, let's be honest, probably going to make it. But I feel like this is where we can stir the pot a little bit and maybe get some disagreement happening. So anything that you don't like here, guys, just chuck it in the comments. Go for your life. Dane Zorko is probably going to make the Hall of Fame. The dude's won like 6 best and fairests, or 5. That's one of them. He's now won a premiership player. He was an All-Australian at 35. I think he's the oldest All-Australian since 2000. I think that's right. And like well-deserved. And whatever you think of him off-field or anything like that doesn't get taken into account at all unless you've done some way worse things than anything Dane Zorko's ever done in his life. So, yeah, like, I think he makes it. I don't think that's controversial at all. Luke Parker. Now, this is where we kind of get interesting here, because looking at modern-day midfielders, I was kind of like, who is a modern-day midfielder who's made the Hall of Fame that I feel like would be a good comparison to after the locks period? And to be honest, it's Lenny Hayes, who finished in the top 3 in the Brownlow once, 3 All-Australian, 3 best and fairests, and a Norm Smith medal. Now, whilst not everyone on this list, or as midfielders, is going to have a Norm Smith medal, some of these players are going to match up to the majority of that resume. Now, I'm not saying that these guys are going to get in exactly 5 years after they retire. They're not going to be first ballot Hall of Famers, but getting there one day, I think so. I think Luke Parker is on a trajectory of getting there. I think he's one of the most underrated players of this generation and a bona fide star. That's good enough for me. Jack Gunston is probably going to make it as well, being that hybrid third tall forward, 3 premierships, plenty of goals to go with it. Now, if he, and of course this would apply to Luke Breust as well, can sneak another flag in before his retirement, like just shoot him up into the locks. But I think why Gunners will deserve that at some point is that he went from being the 3rd option to the 2nd option and did so well. He's been ultra consistent throughout his career. Yes, the premierships help. Would he winning the 2013 Norm Smith over Brian Lake be a massive help to his cause? Probably. But I think he's got enough in the tank over this year, or maybe even 2 years if the Hawks still want to go down the veteran retention path of their list. And like I said, if he can sneak another flag, that probably becomes a lock. But if you guys want to think this one's Hawthorn bias, I won't argue with you too much. Steele Sidebottom is probably going to make it 2nd most games for Collingwood, I think, at this point, with a resume that stacks up beautifully. And I do have to apologise to Steele. He was the obvious one I left off the entire list once I got it to Smithy, who was my final piece of the quality control system. So shout out to you, Smid, for not letting me forget about Steele. But absolutely, he is probably going to make it. What a star he has been, and he's up there with Sam Mitchell and Jason Ackermanis for the best left foot, right foot kicks I have seen. Oh, champion. Toby Green is probably going to make it as well for what he has been as kind of a deep, small forward. I think much like Steve Johnson at the Cats, a guy who was too good forward of centre to not be a bona fide midfielder, as well as just having really good midfielders around them. Stevie J obviously had to compete with better midfielders than Toby Green did. Yes, Gary Ablett Jr., Jimmy Bartell, Joel Corey, these guys rolling through the midfield, James Kelly at times as well, of course. Better than Josh Kelly, Stephen Coniglio, Tom Green, the likes of, Toby Green's opposition here, but for what he's been able to produce, and I think the fact that he's at a foundation club helps his case big time as well. So I think Toby Green, after he retires, is going to make it. Tom Stewart, he's won 4 All-Australians in 6 years, he's got a flag, and he's basically got a role that only he plays, which is your quarterbacking, half sweeping, half one-on-one kind of player. His footy IQ is through the roof. He's a bloody star. Is it the greatest jumper number transition of the last 15 years? Corey Enright to Tom Stewart. It's up there. I'm telling you. It is up there. Christian Petrarca is probably going to make it as well. He's got the Norm Smith medal that Lenny Hayes has got. His resume stacks up beautifully, and he's going to be approaching his 30s here. Fingers crossed his health is good enough that he can put some seasons together. And I don't really think we give Christian enough credit for breaking out of the next dusty mold that he and Jordan De Goey were put into for like 3 years there of the mid to late 2010s. He's come alive, he's come into his own, his breakaway power is extraordinary. Again, not an elite kick, but an elite player with a career that, all of us as kids would wish for 1% of. Travis Boak, he's got the longevity, he's got the resume. Unfortunately, we haven't seen him on the last day in September, and spoiler alert for my thoughts on Port Adelaide, don't think he's going to get that grand final experience, unfortunately. But when you've played nearly 400 games of footy and been as good as Boakey is, you're gonna make it, and 100% deserved. Again, maybe that grand final experience is why I haven't really put him in the lock section, but look, if that's what you find wrong with this video, I will take that as a win. And then last but not least on my probables list is Tom Lynch, which, hear me out here, because he's going to finish his career with over 500 goals. He's going to have 2 flags. So whilst, yes, he'll fall short of someone like a Jonathan Brown of recent times in terms of flags and probably even goals. So I can understand if you're not really going to go about this, but the foundation club theory is still something that is going to be beheld. I genuinely believe that. The fact that he's still their all-time leading goal kicker. And fun fact for you, do you know who Do you know who Gold Coast's second leading goal kicker of all time is? Gary Ablett Jr. That's always good for Gaz. Holy moly. But yeah, the fact that Tom Lynch has only had 2 50-plus seasons now, yes, he did go 60-plus in both of those, is going to be extraordinary. He has had 3 40-plus seasons as well, so what is the barrier we're looking for here? I still think he's probably going to make it. I hope the rest of his career, though, is one of health, but he's in Gold Coast's best 3 players. It's the AFL's club. I think he probably gets there. So let's now go to the question marks, the possibles, the debate of for and against. Now, I don't really want to go into the against bit because I don't really want to be talking smack about guys, but I'll present the case for. And again, I'm not saying they will or they won't. I just think there's a genuine conversation there. Let's start with Taylor Walker. Can we, in good conscience, keep a club's all-time leading goal kicker out of the AFL Hall of Fame? I don't know. I genuinely don't. And that's why I think having these kinds of conversations is pretty cool. Tex didn't win a flag. He hasn't won the Coleman. So again, I can see both sides of it, to be perfectly reasonable. But he's a question mark for me. Now, I'm actually going to lump in 2 guys here because they've both won a flag and been premiers at their positions for a long time, but it's the hardest position, in my opinion, to really give a Hall of Fame comparison to. So let's go to Stephen May and Harris Andrews, because this is tricky. What constitutes a fullback or a centre-half back or a key position defender, whatever you want to go with, entering the Hall of Fame? As I said, they've both won a flag. They've both got All-Australians. They're both very good at what they do. Being one of the best players in your position for your career span, that all makes sense. Can I put them any higher than this? Absolutely not. I think it's a fascinating one. If Brisbane can win another flag, Harris Andrews with how good he is with 2 flags, rockets up the list. I don't think Stephen May's going to win another one at Melbourne, so maybe he's more intriguing. I don't know. Needs finals experience for mine, but Zach Merritt's resume stacks up well against Lenny Hayes's, but his question mark isn't his talent, his output, what he's brought to the Bombers and what he's brought to the game. This is just, is he going to have a football club that takes advantage of the talent that he's got? In my opinion, still one of the most underrated players in the game. I think he is a guy that maybe could have won a Brownlow if the Bombers had a competent franchise, or club, around him. Don't Americanise the game, Daz. Around him, I really do. He's a beautiful kick, a really good leader, and I love him to death, and his resume individually is stacking up, but the argument does falter once you get to the September stuff, which is why he's in the question mark. And the final question mark is basically, his trajectory is amazing, this guy, and I think he will make it, but he does need to have a bounce back year, couple of years, and that's Clayton Oliver, who has been super impressive with his Brownlow placings, his ability to find the ball, the talent that he's obviously got. We've discussed the fact that Hall of Fame midfielders don't exactly need to be elite kicks. Clayton is certainly not that. But again, if he retired today, he probably wouldn't, or if he doesn't get back to his best, maybe he doesn't. So this is a guess, which is why he's in the possibles. I always want to think the best of blokes, so you tell me. And then let's go to 5 guys who I think are on their way. This is subjective, a bit of fun to end my second last video of 24. Nick Dacos, so he's won the flag, he's getting the Brownlow fame, if you want to go with that, from the umpires. The kid's a star. He's easy to hate because of the media. He's impossible to hate, in my opinion, because I love watching really good footballers, and he's one of the best in the competition right now. So I understand the media overhype, and that can turn some people away. I get where you're coming from there. Hard for me to go through that because he's just a star, to be honest. And if he continues on this trajectory, we are looking at one of the best players of his generation. Now, what if there was a guy who was just like Nick Dacos, in my opinion? Started at halfback, rotated through the middle, is going to be a genuine champion of the game, but because he doesn't play at Collingwood or have a famous dad, and I don't say that in disrespect to Nick or anything like that, but the factors for Nick in no way are applicable to Harry Sheezel, except for the fact that he's still a superstar and will probably not get the credit he deserves until North rapidly rise up the ladder, but I think he's on his way, best and fairest already. I think he and Luke Davies-Uniacke are going to fight for Brownlow votes until Luke Davies-Uniacke comes to the Hawks. Now, North fans, don't hate me, this is tongue-in-cheek. I heard what he said on the news. He's probably going to stay at North. Let me dream, alright? But I will give you credit, North fans, in terms of getting rid of your blokes. I was going to say trading, but in terms of jokingly getting rid of your blokes, you guys have been really kind compared to some other fan bases I've had on this channel. So I appreciate that. I'm just mucking around there, guys, alright? My missus is a North fan, and it's fun taking the piss out of her with the Luke Davies-Uniacke stuff, and you guys have been taking it in your stride. So, look, don't come after me. Don't attack me. It's just a bit of fun. Luke Davies-Uniacke's going to re-sign for 6 years, guys, right? Where that is, who knows? No, it's going to be at North, okay? 6 years, it's going to be like 8 mil, and you can laugh at me. That's fine, okay? Harry Sheezel's going to make the Hall of Fame. When did this become a Luke Davies-Uniacke rant? But, hey, that's the way it goes. But Harry Sheezel, he is Nick Dacos without the media fanfare, which sucks for both of those players, probably. Now, I've been accused of having Vic bias in some of my videos. Now, I genuinely think that's nonsense, but hey, we are all entitled to our opinion. However, I will give the Vic bias people some credit here because there is a guy who is quickly becoming one of the biggest superstars in the competition, especially amongst midfielders, that the Victorian media do not talk about enough. Caleb Serong, if he continues the way he is going, we are just seeing one of the best midfielders of this generation that's getting none of the love at all. So, yes, Harry Sheezel may not be getting the love either. Caleb Serong here in Victoria is getting even less because the biggest Caleb Serong talking point this year, could he one day come back to Victoria? Now, that's just a crock, guys. Just enjoy what we're seeing, all right? Because what we're seeing is a bloody star. Now, let's go to 2 guys who don't really have the resumes yet, but could they get there? They could. Let's start with Errol Goulden. Easily my favourite Swans player. Number 1, his name's Errol. Yes. to all of those things. But the beautiful left foot, the little bit of swag, the arrogance, I like it a lot. Personality in sport is something we need. Even if you don't agree with someone's personality, hello Jack Ginnivan haters, but it's good for the game. Let people be who they are, for crying out loud. But this isn't about Jack, this is about Errol. I love the way he goes about it and would be one of the first picked in my side, to be honest, if I could get away with sticking him on a wing. But all Australian selectors do that, and even with his centre bounce attendance percentage, I'm getting away with it too. So Errol is there, and how could I not throw my favourite player in the competition who does not play at the club I support in here? Because not only is the man crush real, but he's also a star. Just needs to stop getting fined. Zach Butters is going to be the guy here. Whether he stays at Port or comes home, shit, I'm doing what they did to Caleb Sarong here, but Zach Butters playing 300 games at Port would be amazing. And fingers crossed that happens, because it's always good watching stars at other clubs, right? Watching rebuilding clubs is not fun. So Zach Butters staying at Port is only a good thing, but he's just one of best and fairest. I love him to death. And yeah, that's it. That's why I'm sticking him in here. Are there other players that could deserve a spot? Yeah, they could be. Comment below. Let me know. Click the like button if you like the video. Subscribe to join the Daz Talks Footy family. Is this video longer than it has any right to be? Probably, but I respect you and love you for watching it. Thank you so much. Second last video of 24. Can you tell I'm looking forward to the break? But the final video will be out on Thursday, so fingers crossed you're looking forward to that. But there will be plenty of stuff coming on the community tab, so make sure that you've subscribed to keep up to date with all the latest quizzes, polls, fan engagement questions, all of those good things. But most of all, have yourselves an amazing week, because you're an amazing person, and I hope you give yourself a bit of self-love and a bit of self-care this week and always. You absolute champion, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.